Hello everyone. Let me start this other one. This is the 5th Ethical Revelation Fellowship. I'm Reverend Dr. Roger Paul, and this is Reverend Diane Silverhawk next to me. And tonight we're going to continue with our study on paper 25. We're on section 4, page 279. That's paper 2541, and it's section Technical Advisors. So I'm going to say a little prayer and we'll get started. Father, thank you for bringing us together tonight. And pray that you'll watch over this group and watch over this meeting tonight, that we might learn something and take something home with us. Pray that you'll bless this group and bless these people that come and listen to this, that they might benefit from some of these teachings. We thank you and we give you the praise in your Son Jesus' name. Amen. Amen. Let's get started. Let me add Millie to our screen here. I don't think Suzanne's out there. Let me hang that one up. There's no answer there. Let's see if we can connect with Millie. No answer there. Okay. Well, everybody's taking a long time to dial tonight, aren't they? There we go. Maybe my connection too. Maybe this computer. Pam, can you see video tonight of us, or me, or?
Well, I'm seeing a still picture of you, and I'm seeing a still picture of Mildred, and I was seeing a still picture of Suzanne.
Okay, yeah, Suzanne dropped out because she didn't answer, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Millie should be there. Millie, you out there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Hey,
We got
Millie.
Millie. All right. Millie, we're on page 279. Technical advisors, we're going to start in the 4th section at the beginning again, since we only did the first paragraph or two. So let's go ahead and get started. You want to start reading tonight, dear?
Okay. For technical advisors, these legal and technical minds of the spirit world were not created as such. From the early Supernophan and Omniphan, 1 million of the most orderly minds were chosen by the infinite spirit as the nucleus of this vast and versatile group. And ever since that far distant time, actual experience in the application of the laws of perfection to the plans of evolutionary creation has been required of all who aspire to become technical advisors. Interesting.
Okay, I hope there's not unorderly minds in the Supernophan and Omniphan. You know,
That's interesting.
that is, isn't it? Orderly minds chosen by the infinite spirit. It makes you wonder.
Not
doesn't it?
everybody is orderly then.
I guess not. Okay, so you have to have experience in the application of the laws of perfection, how the universe runs, right, to become part of this group. And we're going to find out that mortals can become part of this group also. So I'm going to...
Really?
Yes. They
Wow.
can't, after you leave this earth.
Definitely.
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely.
I think that helps.
hope
Okay,
so.
and the next slide is the picture of the different Supernophan and that sort of thing that are available to do that. And I have a picture on the other side of me here. Okay, let me know if you see anybody else pop in there. Technical advisors are recruited from the ranks of the following personality orders. 1. Supernophan. 2. Seconophan. 3. Tertiophan. 4. Omniphan. 5. Seraphim. Certain types of ascending mortals and certain types of ascending midwayers. So there it is. We can become one of these too if we wish, and have the qualifications, I guess. Right? All right. Pam, would you like to take the next paragraph?
Sure. At the present time, not counting the mortals and midwayers, who are all of transient attachment, the number of technical advisors registered on Uversa and operating in Orvanton is slightly in excess of 61 trillion.
We must need a lot of advice, don't we? That's a lot of advisors. 61 trillion. Well, you think of the size of the universe, Orvanton, it's probably, we need every one of them more than likely. Millie, would you take
Well,
the?
you know, I just wanted to say one thing that I think sometimes I just embrace these numbers as a way of expanding your mind
That's true.
so that you can embrace
Uh-huh.
the, you know, because 600 trillion, whatever, I mean, it's so far out there.
It is. It's beyond our comprehension, and it kind of gives you an idea of the vastness of the universe, doesn't it? I mean, when you think about that. And remember, they work in groups of 7, so that's divided into 7 of the 7 in each group. So that's still a lot of beings, any way you look at it. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yeah. Technical advisors frequently function as individuals, but are organized for service and maintain common headquarters on the spheres of assignment in groups of 7. In each group, at least 5 must be of permanent status, while 2 may be of temporary association. Ascending mortals and ascending midway creatures serve on these advisory commissions while pursuing the paradise ascent, but they do not enter the regular courses of training for technical advisors, nor do they ever become permanent members of the order.
So 5 of them are permanent members, and 2 are not. And the 2 that are not can be primary and secondary midwayers and mortals. Okay? So that's how that breaks down. And those are the temporary members.
Because we're all ascending.
Because we're all ascending.
It would
That's right.
interfere with our
Our ascension plan. Right. Okay. Here.
Those mortals and midwayers who serve transiently with the advisors are chosen for such work because of their expertness in the concept of universal law and supreme judgment.
Justice.
Supreme justice. As you journey toward your paradise goal, constantly acquiring added knowledge and enhanced skill, you are continuously afforded the opportunity to give out to others the wisdom and experience you have already accumulated. All the way into Havona, you enact the role of a pupil teacher. You will work your way through the ascending levels of this vast experiential university by imparting to those just below you the newfound knowledge of your advancing career. In the universal regime, you are not reckoned as having possessed yourself of knowledge and truth until you have demonstrated your ability and your willingness to impart this knowledge and truth to others.
So we progress by teaching others, don't we? What we just learned. But it's also interesting here that they talk about here because of their expertness in the concept of universe, law, and supreme justice. So what they're talking about here is even in the lower universes and the super universes, there's definitely a way to do things, isn't there? There's law and justice all the way up. So it matters the way you do things, apparently. Okay. I'll read the next one. After long training and actual experience, any of the ministering spirits above the status of cherubim are permitted to receive permanent appointment as technical advisors. All candidates voluntarily enter this order of service, but having once assumed such responsibilities, they may not relinquish them. Only the Ancient of Days can transfer these advisors to other activities. That's a pretty heavy-duty commitment, isn't it?
Yep.
Once you commit to it, you're there, right? Pam, would you take the next one, please, dear?
Yeah. The training of technical advisors begun in the Melchizedek colleges of the local universes continues to the courts of the Ancients of Days. From this super-universe training, they proceed to the schools of the 7 circles located on the pilot worlds of the Havona circuits. And from the pilot worlds, they are received into the College of the Ethics of Law and the Technique of Supremacy, the Paradise Training School for the perfecting of technical advisors.
Notice it's the technique of supremacy. That's because it's the law and the trainings of the supreme, right? Millie, would you take the next one?
Yeah, something's gone screwy with your sound.
Yeah,
We're getting feedback from Pam, I think. A little bit of
Really?
feedback. Yeah.
turn it down.
Turn it down just a little bit, or you can't turn your speaker if you're on a laptop, are you?
Yeah, I can.
Can you?
Do you have headphones?
I don't have headphones, but I turned it down.
Okay, that'll probably. It's not giving me feedback now. That's fine. Can you still hear okay, Pam?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Now I've lost. Is it the advisors are more than
Yeah, that's exactly right.
The advisors are more than legal experts. They are students and teachers of applied law. The laws of the universe apply to the lives and destinies of all who inhabit the vast domains of the far-flung creation. Whoa. As time passes, they become the living law libraries of time and space, preventing endless trouble and needless delays by instructing the personalities of time regarding the forms and modes of procedure most acceptable to the rules of eternity. Wish they'd go up to the house in Washington.
Really?
Yeah, me too.
They are able so to counsel the workers of space as to enable them to function in harmony. Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
In harmony with the requirements of paradise. They are the teachers of all creatures concerning the technique of the creators.
So this is the laws and the proper way to do things of the creators. The creator sons all the way up through the ancients of days to the supreme, right? So these are the people that tell us how it's done and why it's done that way, right? All right.
Such a living library of applied law could not be created. Such beings must be evolved by actual experience. The infinite deities are existential, hence are compensated for lack of experience. They know all even before they experience all, but they do not impart this non-experiential knowledge to their subordinate creatures.
So they make us go through the experience. They won't give it to us for nothing, right? We have to experience it. It's an evolution process. Technical advisors are dedicated to the work of preventing delay, facilitating progress, and counseling achievement. There is always a best and right way to do things. There is always the technique of perfection, a divine method, and these advisors know how to direct us all in the finding of this better way. But we could use a ton of those on planet Earth, couldn't we?
For sure.
Okay. Pam, would you take the next one?
Sorry, I was listening more than reading, so where am I?
These exceedingly wise,
Okay. These advisors?
these exceedingly wise and practical beings, 25:418.
Oh, right, got it. These exceedingly wise and practical beings are always closely associated with the service and work of the universal censors. Melchizedeks are provided with an able core. The rulers of the systems, constellations, universes, and superuniverses sectors are all bountifully supplied with these technical or legal reference minds of the spiritual world. The spiritual group act as law counselors to the life carriers, advising these sons concerning the extent of permissible departure from the established order of life propagation, and the otherwise instructing them respecting their prerogatives and latitudes of function. They are the advisors of all classes of beings regarding the proper usages and techniques of all spirit world transactions, but they do not directly and personally deal with the material creatures of the realms. I wanted to ask you,
Yeah.
there was something in there that I wasn't quite understanding. If you can speak about this, and then I will come back to you.
Okay.
Okay.
These. Ooh, we're getting feedback again, Pam. Turn your speaker
Sorry.
away from your microphone if you can.
Yeah.
Just turn it a little bit. Yeah.
Okay.
See how that works. Okay. First of all, they talk about here considering the permissible departure from the established order of life propagation, and what they're talking about there is how to develop. They develop life in the in the local universes. Okay, all the way down from the life implantation all the way up to where you're a first stage spirit. So there's a process that goes on as you ascend to paradise, and it's a very specific training process, and the universe is run in a very orderly manner. And that's what these law libraries do. They not only reference spiritual law, but they also reference instruction on how things are to be done and how to do them properly, all the way up to the universe. Okay? The exception of that is they do not directly deal with material creatures of the realm, so we will never deal with them on this planet, but I'm sure as soon as we get to the Morancha worlds, that will be a different story, right? Okay, so things will change when we get there. Now, what was your question, Pam?
Yeah,
about this?
I think it's the a special group act as law counselors to the life carriers, advising these sons
Right.
concerning the extent of permissible departure from the established order of life propagation, and the otherwise instructing them, respecting their prerogatives and latitudes and function.
Okay, so what they're talking about here is that when the life carriers come to implant life, they have a specific order in which they can do things. In other words, when they do an implantation, they may do 3, like they did on this plant, they did 3 separate implants. And once life starts, they cannot tweak it any longer. In other words, if it's having trouble getting going, they can go in and probably tweak the material a little bit and try to get things going. But once life has started, the law is they have to step back and just watch. They can't go in and interfere with it. Okay.
Okay.
That's basically what they're talking about here. There's a specific way to do things when they come
Sure.
in and plant life. And the reason they do that is on planets is they don't want some strange modification of the life implant plasm to take place. They want it to grow on its own on natural evolution. And this may take millions of years. You know, I wouldn't want to be a life carrier, because sitting around watching this stuff grow would be pretty boring, probably. You know, so that answer your question?
Yes.
Okay. Let's see, Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. Besides counseling regarding legal usages, technical advisors are equally devoted to the efficient interpretation of all laws concerning creature beings, physical, mindal, and spiritual. They are available to the universal conciliators and to all others who desire to know the truth of law. In other words, to know how the supremacy of deity may be depended upon to reach in a given situation having factors of an established physical, mindal, and spiritual order. They even essay to elucidate the technique of the ultimate.
So they will know the response of deity even before you do something, okay? And that's basically what they're talking about here. So they know how, it says, upon to react in any given situation. They already know how God the Supreme will react to something that's going out on in the 7 super universes. And then they go on to say they even essay to elucidate the technique of the ultimate, and that's in the outer space levels. So they have a pretty good knowledge of how things are done and why they're done a certain way. Now, where would this come in really important? That would be the Lucifer rebellion, wouldn't it? Lucifer wanted to short circuit this whole plan, right, of training humans so long to get to paradise and stuff. That was one of his bones to pick, and he would be.
Well, that would be tedious.
That would be tedious, but that's what he was going against. Was just these sort of beings, right? When
He wasn't old enough to have developed patience.
that's
yeah, I was
right,
gonna say he's impatient.
impatient about everything.
My neighbor tells me I'm very patient, and I keep telling him it's age. You get it with age, Andy.
That's true. Okay.
Technical advisors are selected and tested beings. I have never known one of them to go astray. We have no records on Uversa of their ever having been adjudged in contempt of the divine laws they so effectively interpret and so eloquently expound. There is no known limit to the domain of their service, neither has any been placed upon their progress. They continue as advisors even to the portals of paradise. The whole universe of law and experience is open to them.
So they don't go astray. They know what they're talking about, don't they? Now keep in mind, these are all classes of angels and midwayers and humans, or mortals too. So, all right. The custodians of records. Let me move this one down too, because we're going to move off of this. Give me 1 second. Custodians of records. A new picture. On Paradise. From among the tertiary supernifem in Havana, certain of the senior chief recorders are chosen as custodians of records, as keepers of the formal archives of the Isle of Light, those archives which stand in contrast to the living records of registry in the minds of the custodians of knowledge, sometimes designated the living libraries of paradise. Okay, so these are beings that keep a physical type of record, okay, but as a backup for these living libraries, which are basically beings that hold all these records in the mind. We're going to find out in a minute. This even goes back as far as the appearance of the infinite spirit, okay, and that's how we know she came last too. Okay, so let's keep going. All right, there's the picture of the picture. In case you can't see it, it shows a tertiary supernifem, the history of the planets, and a thing that looks like a bunch of discs on top of one another. Okay, and let's keep going. Pam, would you take the next one? The recording angels.
The recording angels of the inhabited planets are the source of all individual records. Throughout the universes, other recorders function regarding both formal records and living records. From Urantia to Paradise, both recordings are encountered. In a local universe, more of the written records are, and less of the living. On Paradise, more of the living and less of the formal. On Uversa, both are equally available.
Okay, so y'all keep in mind, these records are not only of individual lives. Okay, everything that happens to you from the creation of yourself all the way up to that particular moment. Okay, but it's also the records of all the hierarchy of everything that happens in every super universe, every local universe, and everything in between. You know, all the creations, all the records of any being that's been created, any change, anything like that. Everything that goes on has a record. Okay. Now, what you may wonder, why would you want all this record keeping? Well, for the Ancients of Days, it's important they have a complete record of your life when you go for judgment, right? Or in the case of someone like Lucifer, who was a planetary, who was a system sovereign, they have a record of how he reacted in every situation since the beginning of the first day he took up his job as a system sovereign. So they have all this to refer back to and to make decisions. Now, keep in mind, because the vastness of these records, this may be some of the reason there's a time lag of justice, if you think about it. These records have to take long periods of time to go through thoroughly and all the way through by the Ancients of Days before they make a decision, right? So it's kind of interesting that everything is recorded. Okay. Really? Millie, would you take the next one? You out there, Millie?
Turn my mic on.
Okay.
What does it start? Every occurrence?
Every occurrence.
Every occurrence of significance in the organized and inhabited creation is a matter of record. While events of no more than local importance find only a local recording, those of wider significance are dealt with accordingly. From the planets, systems, and constellations in Nebadon, everything of universe import is posted on Salvington. And from such universe capitals, those episodes are advanced to higher recording, which pertain to the affairs of the sector and supergovernments. Paradise also has a relevant summary of superuniverse and Havona data. And this historic and cumulative story of the universe of universes is in the custody of these exalted tertiary superfin.
What's interesting about this is we can access many of these records when we get there. You know, so we can look at the entire history of the local universe or the super universe or anything. So that's kind of interesting to think about it. All right.
While certain of these beings have been dispatched to the super universes to serve as chiefs of records, directing the activities of celestial recorders, not one has ever been transferred from the permanent roll call of their order.
So they're very dependable, aren't they? They never default. Okay, celestial recorders. I believe you might have another slide. Here it is. There you go. Celestial recorders. These are the recorders who execute all records in duplicate, making an original spirit recording and a semi-material counterpart, what might be called a carbon copy. This they can do because of their peculiar ability simultaneously to manipulate both spiritual and material energy. Celestial recorders are not created as such. They are ascended seraphim from the local universes. They are received, classified, and assigned to their spheres of work by the Council of the Chief Recorders on the headquarters of the seven super universes. They are located for schools There also are located the schools for training celestial recorders. The school on Uversa is conducted by the perfecters of wisdom and the divine counselors, who we know that is one of them that gave us the papers on God the Father, God the Son, God the Spirit. So they're pretty high up training these. Okay. There's a picture of the original records and the carbon copy, a physical and spiritual copy. Okay. Pam, would you take the next one?
Sure. As the recorders advance in universe service, they continue their system of dual recording, thus making their records always available to all classes of beings, from those of the material order to the high spirits of light. In your transition experience, as you ascend from this material world, and you will always be able to consult the records of and to be otherwise conversant with the history and traditions of your status sphere.
So we can look up anything we want to when we get there on our planet from the beginning of time. Okay? Which is kind of nice to be able to do, right? Did y'all ever see that movie Defending Your Life? Albert Brooks? He goes to this place called the Hall of Records, I think it was called. And, well, in this he was viewing supposed past lives, and we know that's not possible. But it was kind of interesting. Maybe that's the way it is, though. You can go back and actually view what happened on your planet over a long period of time. It'd be kind of interesting. Okay. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. The recorders are a tested and tried. Yep, I got this right. Is that where we are?
Yes, that's
The
exactly
recorders
right.
are a tested and tried core. Never have I known of the defection of a celestial recorder, and never has there been discovered a falsification of their records. They are subjected to dual inspection, their records being scrutinized by their exalted fellows from Uversa and by the mighty messengers, who certify to the correctness of the quasi-physical duplicates of the original spirit records.
That's interesting because you wouldn't think that they would falsify anyways, but they still check it, don't they? I guess there's always a possibility, right?
Someone could have made a
Mistake or something, yeah.
While the advancing recorders stationed on the subordinate spheres of record in the Orvantan universes number trillions upon trillions, those of attained status on Uversa are not quite 8 million in number. These senior or graduate recorders are the super-universe custodians and forwarders of the sponsored records of time and space. Their permanent headquarters are in the circular abodes surrounding the area of records on Uversa. They never leave the custody of these records to others. As individuals, they may be absent, but never in large numbers.
Okay, so they're always on watch to make sure that nobody messes with these records, don't they? The other interesting thing about this is the circular abodes surrounding the area of records. You notice throughout this book, all the abodes are circular. They never talk about square buildings, do they? So, so I found that kind of fascinating. Okay, all right, let's keep. Like those Supernaphim who have become custodians of records, the Corps of Celestial Recorders is of permanent assignment. Once Seraphim and Supernaphim are mustered into these services, they will respectively remain Celestial Recorders and Custodians of Records until the day of the new and modified administration of the full personalization of God the Supreme. At that point, all bets are off. Anything could change, right? So there may be a whole new process comes into existence with the Supreme. We don't know yet. Okay, Pam, would you take the next one?
Sure. On Uversa, these senior celestial recorders can show the records of everything of cosmic import in all Orvantan, since far distant times of the arrival of the Ancients of Days, while on the eternal isle of the custodians of records guard the archives of that realm, which testify to the transactions of paradise since the times of the personification of the infinite spirit.
Okay, two things in this paragraph that is really, really important. The arrival of the Ancients of Days. We don't think about that, do we? At one point in time, sometime in the eon past, all 21 of the Ancient of Days had to arrive on the Super Universe headquarters, right? And even back farther than that is the times of the personification of the Infinite Spirit. And that's how we know that the Infinite Spirit came after the Infinite Son.
So were the celestial recorders actually present before that all happened? They had to have been the recorders. So they would have preceded even the Infinite Spirit.
No, not necessarily. They may just make a record up from that time forward. Okay? That this is recorded on this such and such time that the Infinite Spirit was personified.
Okay.
Right? So that way we know that the Infinite Spirit came last. Right? And God split himself with the Son first. Right? Okay. All right. Morontia Companions. 1 second. Oops. Skipped over. There it is. Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. 7. The Morontia Companions. These children of the local universe mother spirits are the friends and associates of all who live the ascending Morontia life. They are not indispensable to the Ascender's real work of creature progression, neither do they in any sense displace the work of the seraphic guardians who often accompany their mortal associates on the paradise journey. The Morontia Companions are simply gracious hosts to those who are just beginning the long ascent inward. They are also skillful play sponsors and are ably assisted in this work by the reversion directors.
Okay, so unlike the seraphic guardians are there to help teach us, the Morontia companions are there for companionship. Okay? Because many people will arrive on the mansion worlds ahead of what? Their spouses, right? Or their partners. And so when they get to the Morontia worlds or any other associated worlds going forward, they don't want anyone to arrive alone or awake with no one there to greet them. So these Morontia companions are there when you wake up and become your friends. Okay? And they remain your friends until your spouse or your partner arrives if you want to go through the experience together. Okay? And if not, they will stay with you all the way up to the Havona worlds. Isn't that interesting? So no one is alone in the universe. Everyone has someone to be a companion and to be with. Okay? So if you arrive at the mansion world first and you're waiting for your spouse, that's just fine. They'll keep you company until they arrive. Okay? Of course, you might like your companion better than you do your spouse, so you may not want to wait on your spouse any longer.
You never know.
You never know. I doubt that. Okay. Dear, you want to take the next one?
Though you will have earnest and progressively difficult tasks to perform on the Morontia training worlds of Nebadon, you will always be provided with regular seasons of rest and reversion. Throughout the journey to paradise, there will always be time for rest and spirit play. And in the career of light and life, there is always time for worship and new achievement.
Okay, so it's not all work when you get there. It's not all playing a harp, but it's not all work either. Right? Playing the harp may be part of the rest and reversion.
Mandolin.
Yeah. These Morontia companions are such friendly associates that, when you finally leave the last phase of the Morontia experience, as you prepare to embark upon the universe spirit adventure, you will truly regret that these companionable creatures cannot accompany you. But they serve exclusively in the local universe. At every stage of the ascending career, all contactable personalities will be friendly and companionable. But not until you meet the Paradise Companions will you find another group so devoted to friendship and companionship. So these will go all the way up to Havona with you, right? And at that part, they'll depart and you'll get a new companion. Okay? Pam, you want to take the next one?
Mm-hmm. The work of the Morontia companions is more fully depicted in those narratives dealing with the affairs of your local universe.
And there's a lot on that, and I have a whole slide presentation that maybe one day we'll go over if we get to that paper, because it's very interesting. Okay, the Paradise Companions. Give me 1 second. There they are. All right, Millie, would you take the Paradise Companions? Turn on your mic, Millie. We can't hear you. I know that's what she's doing. She's reading.
I am. I'm just reading. Number 8, the Paradise Companions. The Paradise Companions are a composite or assembled group recruited from the ranks of the Seraphim, Seconophim, Supernophim, and Omniphim. Though serving for what you would regard as an extraordinary length of time, they are not permanent status. When this ministry has been completed, as a rule but not invariably, they return to those duties they performed when summoned to Paradise service.
Okay, so they are actually called to Paradise to be a Paradise Companion. And they stay with you as that companion all the way through Paradise until you become a finaliter. Okay? and they're not relieved from that until that happens. Okay, and that's what they're talking about, this extraordinary length of time. And notice here, these are actually angels, aren't they? Seraphim, Tsikanophim, Supernophim, and Omniophim, that will be your companions when you get to paradise. Okay, and there's a picture of those next too. Okay.
Members of the angelic host are nominated for this service by the local universe mother spirits, by the super-universe reflective spirits, and by Majeston of paradise. They are summoned to the central aisle and are commissioned as paradise companions by one of the 7 master spirits. Aside from permanent status on paradise, this temporary service of paradise companionship is the highest honor ever conferred upon the ministering spirits.
So this is like a little feather in your cap, isn't it, if you're a ministering spirit? Because they're nominated for this by the local universe mother spirits, the super universe reflective spirits, and Majeston of paradise. So this is probably the highest honor you can get as a ministering angel. Okay? Let me find my mouse here. Lost it. Black. Okay. These selected angels are dedicated to the service of companionship and are assigned as associates to all classes of beings who may chance to be alone on paradise, chiefly to the ascendant mortals, but also to all others who are alone on the central aisle. Paradise companions have nothing special to accomplish in behalf of those with whom they fraternize. They are simply companions. Almost every other being you mortals will encounter during your paradise sojourn, aside from the fellow pilgrims, will have something definite to do with you or for you. But these companions are assigned only to be with you and to commune with you as personality associates. They are often assisted in their ministry by the gracious and brilliant paradise citizens. So they're there to keep you company, any way you look at it. They don't have anything in particular they're trying to teach you or anything else other than just be there for you, right? Okay, Pam, would you take the next one?
Mortals come from races that are very social. The creators well know that it is not good for man to be alone, and provisions is accordingly made for companionship, even on paradise.
So they take care of us all the way to the top, don't they?
I have a question. How can you be alone when you've got your fellow pilgrims with you?
Do you have what?
It says your fellow pilgrims, everybody else that's with you.
Yes, but Millie, you might arrive before them, right? You might be ahead of your.
Millions of people arriving all at the same time.
Yeah.
Look at how many people die every minute.
I realize that, but there's a possibility you could arrive without any close friends there. I mean, you might have a lot of associates, but these are companions that stay with you all the time. So they're there just as a service to keep you company. Okay?
I hope I like that.
I was going to say, what if you're ever alone?
I don't know if you can trade them in or not. Okay. Let's see, who's up? Oh, Millie? Millie? Did
Me again? Okay, my speaker's on.
I
was trying to...
No, it's Diane. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, Billy.
Sorry.
I think it is me. I'm not really. Is it my
Yeah, go
turn?
ahead.
Okay. If you, as an ascendant mortal, should reach paradise in the company of the companion or close associate of your earthly career, or if your seraphic guardian of destiny should chance to arrive with you or waiting for you, then no permanent companion would be assigned you. But if you arrive alone, a companion will certainly welcome you as you awaken on the Isle of Light from the terminal sleep of time. Even if it is known that you will be accompanied by someone of ascendant association, temporary companions will be designated to welcome you to the eternal shores and to escort you to the reservation made ready for the reception of you and your associates. You may be certain of being warmly welcomed when you experience the resurrection into eternity on the everlasting shores of paradise.
So even if you have someone coming with you, or coming right behind you, they will be there for you. Okay? What a wonderful concept. Think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Reception companions are assigned during the terminal days of the ascenders' sojourn at the last circuit of Havona, and they carefully examine the records of mortal origin in an eventful ascent through the worlds of space and the circles of Havona. When they greet the mortals of time, they are already well versed in the careers of these arriving pilgrims and immediately prove to be sympathetic and intriguing companions. So they know everything there is to know about your history when you get there. That's why they're good companions, because they know your interests and everything else, right? Come on, Mouse. Okay. Pam, would you take the next one?
Uh-huh. During your pre-finaliter sojourn on Paradise, if for any reason you should be temporarily separated from your associate of the ascending career, mortal or seraphic, a Paradise companion would be forthwith assigned for counsel and companionship. When once assigned to an ascendant mortal of solitary residence on Paradise, the companion remains with this person until he either is rejoined by his ascendant associates or is duly mustered into the core of the finality.
Okay, so they stay with you until you are actually mustered into the core of finality or your associates arrive. Okay? Millie, would you take the next one?
Yes. Paradise companions are assigned in order of waiting, except that an ascendant is never placed in the charge of a companion whose nature is unlike his superuniverse type. If a Uraja mortal were arriving on Paradise today, it would be assigned to him the first waiting companion, either of origin in Orvanton or otherwise of the nature of the seventh master spirit. Hence, the Omnifem serve not with the ascendant creatures from the seven superuniverses.
So this companion would be coming from your super universe or from the seventh master spirit for us, right? If we came from the sixth super universe, they'd assign one from the sixth master spirit or the sixth super universe. They're always this light type beings. Okay?
Roger,
Yeah.
I'm not quite sure if I understand. Hence, the Omniafem serve not with the ascendant creatures from the seven superhumans.
That's because they are paradise angels. They are
Okay.
they're the highest type of angels, the Omniafem,
Okay.
and they originate in paradise. So they wouldn't have experience of the seven super universe, only the experience of paradise. Okay.
Okay.
So they wouldn't be assigned to us.
Good question.
Yeah.
Many additional services are performed by the Paradise Companions. If an ascending mortal should reach the central universe alone, and while traversing Havona, should fail in some phase of the deity adventure, in due course he would be remanded to the universes of time, and forthwith a call would be made to the reserves of the Paradise Companions. One of this order would be assigned to follow the defeated pilgrim, to be with him and to comfort and cheer him, and to remain with him until he returned to the central universe to resume the Paradise ascent.
Okay, this is real important, y'all. I'm going to go through this pretty thoroughly here. What they're talking about is this. When you get to paradise, our number one job is to recognize God the Spirit, God the Son, and God the Father. And that it may take a long period of time to do that. We go in the deity presence of all three of these beings, but we have to recognize this and them one at a time. And that's what they're talking about here. If you should fail in some phase of your deity adventure, in other words, if you keep trying to recognize them over and over and over, and you just can't do it, then they remand you back to your super universe to get remedial training, basically back in the worlds of Havona, because there's some part of that you did not understand or didn't absorb, so you get sent back to try it again. And that's what they're talking about here. A companion will go back with you during this process and stay with you and comfort you and cheer you and keep pushing you on, so that when you go back and try to recognize the deities again, you'll have a better chance of doing that. Okay? Because they want every single person that makes it to paradise to recognize God the Spirit, God the Son, and God the Father. And it's not until you recognize all three of them and you can associate all three of them that you become part of the core of finality. And that's what they're talking about here. Okay? It's your insurance. Okay. Pam, would you take the next one?
Mhm. Many additional services are performed by the
No.
Paradise Companions.
I think
It-
you skipped. Oh, no.
Huh?
No, it's the
We've done
next
that.
next
The
next
next.
paragraph.
Okay,
Yeah.
if an ascending pilgrim?
Yes, that's it. Okay.
Okay. If an ascending pilgrim met defeat in the deity adventure while traversing Havona in the company of an ascending seraphim, the guardian angel of the mortal career, she would elect to accompany her mortal associate. These seraphim always volunteer and are permitted to accompany their longtime mortal comrades back to the service of time and space.
Okay, so if your guardian angel or your guardian seraphim is available, then they can go with you back to time and space again. Okay, the same one, which is kind of nice because you know that one pretty well by then. Okay,
Mhm.
Millie, would you take the last paragraph? We're gonna get done early than
But not so with two closely associated mortal ascenders. If one attains God while the other temporarily fails, the successful individual invariably chooses to go back to the evolutionary creations with a disappointed personality. But this is not permitted. Instead, a call is made to the reserves of the Paradise Companions, and one of the volunteers is selected to accompany the disappointed pilgrim. A volunteer Paradise citizen then becomes associated with the successful mortal who tarries on the central aisle awaiting the Havana return of the defeated comrade. And in the meantime, teaches in certain Paradise schools presenting the adventurous story of the evolutionary ascent, sponsored by one high in authority from the university.
Okay, so if one person makes it all the way and recognizes God, and the other partner of this person does not, they are not allowed to accompany them back to the seven super universes because they're ready to become finalators, right?
Makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So they will tarry on Paradise, waiting for the partner to get there, and in the meantime, they teach in the Paradise schools and teach about their ascent up to Paradise. So, if one of you don't make it, you have to go back for remedial classes. You don't take your mate with you. They have to wait on Paradise for you to get there. Okay? And that finishes paper 25. Okay, let me stop the videos here, and then we'll have just a few words.
It would be
Thank
good
you for joining us.
It would be good to save the next paper for